Hi, this is Larry Hatch, and this is another episode of 10 New and Modern Words for Success and Better Communication. Our first word is office graveyard, and that is a COVID word you haven't maybe heard of, COVID term, phrase, um, and it's a adjective and a noun, but you probably will hear about it. And it's basically the dusty and neglected workspace we all left behind because people working at home due to a pandemic or something else, with the expectation you will return someday to your office space. In my case, it's a very small, like 10 foot by 3 foot space. It's sort of like an open pod. It's not really a cubicle. It includes all the relics and personal objects of the user they had to leave behind in a hurry. And I did go back once and grab a few of them, but I got a ton of stuff there, and I don't know if they're dusting it or cleaning it, but I'm sure they will before we get back. I know on the top shelf I've got a whole Egyptian thing going. I got Cleopatra on her boat. I've got all the Egyptian gods, Horus and so on. I've actually got an Egyptian pyramid, and if you open up the pyramid, there's actually a piece of a little miniature Egyptian mummy that's actually from about 350 BC. So, and on the second shelf, I've got the scene from Breaking Bad with the famous motorhome, two guys in yellow hazmat suits, Walter White's Black Chrysler 300, Jesse's Captain Cook car, the old Monte Carlo. On another shelf, I got some beautiful seashells from all over the world. And another shelf, I've got some lovely stones and minerals and gemstones and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that stuff is still there. The next term, we all have experiences, and we'll all probably, hopefully, find our office graveyard somewhat intact. But it's an interesting term. And I was one of those people that stayed in the office about a month after about 200 of my colleagues had left. So I kind of got to see the cleaning crews kind of dusting off the stuff with care, and then sterilizing the surfaces. But, it was an interesting experience. Eminent domain. It's the legal right of a governmental unit to take personal land and buildings, usually somebody's house and yard, these being owned by a private person. You might even have your mortgage paid, but the government can still take it if it's deemed for a better public good, and that's where the word eminent comes in, and usually with some degree of compensation, often justified in terms of the new thing, the new development, creating a larger tax base, and developments that help a large range of people. Eminent domain is controversial because it often destroys really old neighborhoods, and sometimes it does take property away from senior citizens who, frankly, own their homes for decades, and they just don't want to move into some slum-like apartment building. They're happy where they are. Eminent domain is sometimes abused. For example, they'll say, "Oh, we've been taxing your property at a value of $200,000, but due to market considerations, we're only going to pay you $130,000 for your property." So they tax you at a high level, and when it comes to paying you for stealing your land, they give you a lower market value. How convenient. Now, eminent domain, is often necessary to build, highways. And in the old days, it was done to build railroads, and there's lots of abuses. People do hire lawyers to keep from destroying old neighborhoods, sometimes cultural neighborhoods, minority neighborhoods. You can imagine people that are perceived as not having a lot of legal resources. They can be taken advantage of. I know in one case they were trying to get rid of a lot of seniors' homes to build a Walmart. Well, they said it would create 500 jobs and a huge $1 million tax base. But where were you going to put these senior citizens who had virtually no income to speak of except Social Security? They couldn't build another house. They didn't want to live in some slum apartment. What do you do with people like that? So, eminent domain is not something I really care about, but it is used a lot, and it's often, if you're in a spot where they want to build something, you probably are going to lose. The next term is house blinging. That's maybe the opposite of eminent domain. That's where you keep your house and add bright, decorative, and sometimes tacky objects. Usually to an extreme. It's blinging out. Like excessive gold jewelry. And typically it'll be a massive Christmas light show. Or like filling your whole front yard with inflatable Halloween statues, or let me try to think of another one. What are the other? Maybe you'll even have a nativity scene that's so big it's bigger than life size, and it'll have not just Mary and Joseph and the baby, it'll have animals and lights and you name it, wise men. It'll just be just crazy excessive, and it's something people like to do. It's kind of fun, but the neighbors aren't always happy. The power companies are definitely happy because there's usually a lot of energy spent for these projects. But I think we all know house blinging when we see it, and again, it's maybe an extreme, excessive thing. And sometimes you might have to fight the homeowners association to get it done or to keep it up. But there's all different versions of it. And sometimes house blinging is done to, frankly, piss off the homeowners association. And there might be some, neon signs to that effect even. I won't go there. I probably said too much already. Ghost kitchen. That should be singular. Ghost kitchen. A ghost kitchen is a food preparation area, and it's often a sophisticated, culinary quality kitchen used to stage or to store food for later use in a restaurant, a catering operation, a cafeteria, or a franchise restaurant, but created at a different location and much prior to serving. Ghost kitchens are sometimes, like, hey, it's such and such a chain restaurant. We just heat the stuff up in a bag, and you think we made it in the back room? No, we just heat it up, and you could probably have done that with Stouffer's yourself. But some ghost kitchens are very sophisticated. You can imagine catering. If you're going to cater an event for 10,000 people, you're probably not going to do it on an on-site kitchen. It's going to be prepared days and days and days, if not weeks ahead of time. And there's a lot more of that than you'd think. It's not just the franchises sending out, oh, here's our latest Chipotle chicken, just, heat it and serve it. There's a lot more to it than that. Some very, very high quality restaurants use a ghost kitchen because they want standardization. Sometimes a ghost kitchen will actually be full of very elite chefs who do the preparation for the local staff who are maybe not as trained or sophisticated. So a ghost kitchen can be at a higher level than a local restaurant, or it can be just kind of assembly line. So there's different degrees of it and qualities of it. but you probably will never see it. Our next term is a green swan. I think we all know what a black swan and a white swan are. But a green swan is an unpredicted, unexpected event in the climate or ecology with significant negative or economic impacts and possibly a lifestyle change if it gets bad. It's basically, you know, things going really wrong really fast. So that little ugly duckling event turned into a green swan. It's not a widely used term, but it's out there, and you probably need to be aware of it. Um, and it's very likely a catastrophic sort of event, at least on a local level. Ambush marketing is the sudden display of advertisements or logos that co-op, ambush, or disrupt existing paid promotions, such as a plane or a blimp flying over, hauling a sign or a glowing sign, or a person unfurling a banner without approval. It's a very guerrilla way of marketing. Sometimes it's legal, sometimes it's not. But let's say if you have a sporting event and somebody flies over a plane and says, buy Pepsi and the whole football team is sponsored by Coke, they're not going to be too happy. Or maybe someone will unfurl a banner for a product that's different than the one that's on the scoreboard. There's all kinds of ambush marketing, and some is legal, some is illegal, some is very clever, and it's just a term that describes some very creative uses of light and technology and sometimes flying things. The next term is content curation. And curation is basic. A curator is basically somebody who keeps track of valuable objects, cataloging them, organizing them, preserving them for the future. A librarian is essentially a curator of books. A museum staff with valuable oil paintings will have curators. In content curation, we're thinking more about the management and protection of media, digital things, text, audio, video, and other forms that have future value, either as a historical record of a project or active presentations, and that includes archiving them, preserving them, making backups, organizing them, dealing with copyright issues, hyperlinking things so they connect to each other, and a sort of a classification system. So as digital media has gotten more sophisticated, content curation is a much more important thing, and you can buy some very sophisticated databases that'll manage all of your video and audio clips and text documents and so on. And these things are extremely complicated and expensive on one level, or you can do it on your average computer, but you need to be organized and have some sort of classification system. For example, a newspaper will say, hey, get me everything on this person or this issue or this date. And those content curators at the newspaper, yes, and there still are such things, will be able to pull all of that research data very, very easily. And if you run a large website, after a period of years, you accumulate a lot of stuff. A lot of raw stuff, a lot of refined stuff, a lot of stuff that you didn't use that's sort of in the middle. And content curation becomes very important for the long-term stability of your operation. So there we are, and that's what we have. So hopefully all of you will comment on these items, and we do appreciate what you're doing. There are 3 more terms, but I'm asking everybody to subscribe. We do need some more hits to keep this thing going. So if you do appreciate this, please comment, and it really helps the algorithm. One of these videos got like a zillion hits in a week. Another got 2. Well, we really need some help on this. So I'm gonna keep doing this no matter what. But I really appreciate people helping us with the Google YouTube algorithms. The next term is NeoCelibacy. And we all know what celibacy is. It's like abstaining from sex. But NeoCelibacy is, okay, you're not a virgin anymore, but later in life, after maybe a marriage has ended, or death of a spouse, or basically a period of extended romance, you abstain from sexual relations till a new marriage or a new relationship is formed. And again, it's typical of somebody who's divorced, and they'll say, "Hey, I'm not getting out on that dating scene again. I'm gonna wait till I'm married to, resume intimacy, at least at a sexual level." Or other people will, wait a suitable interval after their spouse has died before they contemplate new levels of intimacy. So neo-celibacy is a decision where, you're sort of a virgin again, so to speak, not literally, because a major relationship has ended, and you're anticipating a new one, and that new one will be more special if you're not, well, too much out there. I think we all know how that mindset works. Exergaming is a hybrid of the word exercise and gaming. It's using video films or video games as a means to conduct physical exercise. And I remember when the Wii device came out, there was all kinds of stuff there. Obviously, in the 70s, it might have been the 60s. No, I think it was the 70s. There were exercise videos. Jane Fonda and Jim Fixx, I think it was, the jogging guy, who curiously died of a heart attack. He didn't know he had heart disease. But anyway, there were a lot of, in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of video pioneers that they would make exercise videos for everybody's self-improvement. Nowadays, we tend to use, video films that come with our treadmill, or maybe a particular YouTube channel we like, or sometimes we buy content that we can put on our tablet that might be mounted to a exercise machine. I know that the original Wii video games really emphasized exergaming, but there's a lot of versions of that. But strictly, it is a video game type environment, and it's a term not widely used, but let's put it out there. The next term is mindfulness. Oh wow, I hear this all the time. Didn't really know. I sort of knew what it meant. You could tell by context what it meant. It's a calm state of mind or consciousness, peacefulness almost, where you accept your reality as it is, your state of existence, and feelings as they are, being very aware of the current situation, living in the moment, non-judgmental, very secure, living again in the moment, observant and curious, just being mindful, full of your consciousness at the present state, not saying, hey, this is bad, I need to change it, just aware of what it is for what it is, what it'll be, it is, and what it is, and what it'll be. That's not saying you don't want changes, but you're aware of the current state of mind. You're calm and you're happy and accepting about it, and then you move on from there to another level of consciousness, hopefully, and you're aware of that, and then to another one, and to another one, and so on. So I probably didn't explain that terribly well. Everybody sort of has their own mindfulness program. There's a lot of those out there. So you might want to delve into some of those. Again, it is a little bit of a buzzword, but I think we all know what living in the moment is, being observant, and not judging ourselves. It is what it is, and I'm going to move on, but I'll be mindful of moving on. So please comment, and thanks for your time.